What is a quantitative journalist?
A quantitative journalist is someone who just sort of understands the data-driven mindset, understands what data can do, the sort of data that's out there, and then tries to translate this data-driven mindset into terms that a general reader can understand. I look for conclusions and ask questions the same way that a lot of the data scientists here at Strata do. But for me, the end result is something that illuminates, or that I try to have the end result be something that illuminates, some aspect of an important piece of the news conversation for the general readers.
So can you walk me through a typical day?
Sure.
I mean, how are you, a day in the life, right? But right. How are you intersecting with data on a story-by-story level?
Well, I work with data in a couple of ways. One is that I write about people who use data, and I create data-driven stories and infographics and things that we publish in Forbes. I also manage parts of our databases that underlie things like the Forbes 400 list of richest people. And so I work on all across the practitioner observer spectrum, and so I write about people who are practitioners, and I'm a little bit of a lightweight practitioner myself. So a typical day is a mix of reading about what people are doing with data, thinking about what data sets might be fun or informative for our readers to learn about, and then I also go to a lot of meetings and hear about progress on our internal initiatives to modernize our data and find better ways to express it, and find ways to redesign parts of our website to better publish this phenomenal data that we've got.
So when you run across a data set that intrigues you, what's the next step?
The next step is to see if I can understand it. And this is particularly tricky with a lot of government data sets where you have to have some sense of the critical keys and so forth before you can unlock it. And so I start to pick apart the data set. I see if I can write a quick script to open it and maybe join it with some other helpful data set, and then I start to sketch out on paper how I might illustrate it with a graphic, if that's possible. Start to think about whether interactive is the direction to go, or whether a static graphic might tell the same story with much less complexity and much more clarity. And then I attack it. So I generally do everything from scratch, which is very inefficient. I write a new script pretty much every time I encounter a new piece of data.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that keeps everything very flexible. It also, keeps things slow.
Sure.
So.
Right. Now you mentioned scripts, you mentioned visualizations, those types of things. What do you see as the core skills of data journalism?
I think the core skill is just being able to understand the promise of data, and I think programming is important too. It's hard to escape it. It's hard to escape databases and things like that. But you can't get to any of those without having some sense of what can be done with data, and having a bit of imagination when you see a data set as to what it might turn into.
Now, last question for you. How do you see data journalism evolving over the next few years? I mean, are we going to have more and more data journalists who have these capabilities across different domains, pounding on that data and making the stories out of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really nascent field at this point, and as we see here at the conference, everyone is just starting to discover how much data they generate and what they can do with the data if they put some attention into collecting it and analyzing it. So the world is becoming a much more data-driven place, and data journalists are going to have to interpret more and more of it for readers and for interested people.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate taking the time.
Of course, it's been a pleasure.